Hi, my name is Meredith Guthrie, and I am with the Communication Department at the University of Pittsburgh. And I hope this recording works well, and thank you so much for allowing me to record my talk today. I'm reading on a screen right above the one I'm recording because I'm having computer issues, so please forgive me if I don't make a great deal of eye contact. Today I'd like to talk about the concept of Twilight fandom as feral fans. The term feral fans first came into widespread use in the 1990s in fan communities as a way to describe fans that didn't pass through traditional gatekeepers of fan culture. While some feral fans can be, according to those gatekeepers, properly educated and brought into traditional fandom, others cannot and don't even want to be. Indeed, with the advent of the internet, more and more people are coming into media fandom independent of established fan cultures and are starting new fan cultures of their own that are viewed by some as feral fandoms. These fandoms are radically changing what it means to be a fan today for good and for ill. One can never speak of any fandom as a monolithic entity. However, one can discuss the ways fans define themselves as a group, the ways fandoms are described by other fans, and the internal controversies surrounding fan behavior that are discussed by fans themselves. In the limited time I have today, I want to define feral fandom, discuss the major ways in which Twilight fandom in particular is considered feral, and begin to discover how Twilight fans are changing the face of fandom itself. Before I begin, I want to acknowledge that the term a feral fan is a contested one that many believe is insulting. I continue to use the term throughout not because I agree with it, but because of its widespread use within fandom itself. Within pre-internet fan culture, a person needed to know somebody who was already an established fan in order to become a fan. That fan would then mentor the newbie into fan tradition, aesthetics, syntax, and etiquette before they could be established as a good fan. One learned how things are done and how things are said. People who stumbled upon media fandom independently and who did not join established fan networks became feral fans. Feral fans, according to established fans, do it wrong. They say the wrong things, or they say the right things using the wrong words. Feral fans are often fans of only one text and resist making connections between texts in a way that constitutes multi-fandom play. They don't follow established etiquette and commit what traditional fans would consider horrible faux pas. And worst of all, they increasingly don't care. Twilight fans, whom I'll call twihards, although there are a number of different terms, are often proudly, obstreperously feral. The more traditional fans try to instruct them in proper fan behavior, the more some twihards resist being brought into the fold. While fans outside of Twilight fandom consider twihards feral fans, Twilight fans themselves believe they're bringing fan culture into the 21st century and just acknowledging existing economic structures. Furthermore, they claim that this reaction against Twilight fan behavior is less about Twilight fans being bad fans and more about jealousy at Twihard's success in the market or irrational hatred of the text of Twilight itself. Twihards are considered feral for a number of reasons, but in the interests of time today, I just want to focus on the major reason. A rather large subset of twihards believe it's okay to publish fan fiction for profit. In publishing circles, this is called P2P fiction or pulled to publish, since its authors will pull the original fanfic offline, change it a little bit or a whole lot, and then publish it with the intention of making money. The most famous example of P2P fiction is 50 Shades of Grey. While 50 Shades of Grey represents the most famous example of P2P fiction right now, it certainly does not stand alone. Right now, there are at least a couple of dozen published novels from traditional publishing houses and hundreds of works, self-published works that began life as Twilight fanfic. And at least one P2P story besides 50 Shades of Grey called Beautiful Bastard has snagged a movie deal. Indeed, a lot of books in the new romance subgenre, new adult, began life as Twilight fanfic. In each of these cases, the work was originally posted in Twilight fanfic communities before being pulled. The big ethical dilemmas that fan communities face with this issue is, first, the intellectual property rights of the author. Second, the lack of acknowledgement of fellow fans' work on the piece. And finally, and less importantly for this paper, the ethical problem of so-called fake fans who enter communities only to further their writing career. Cindy Aleo, who's a longtime critic of P2P fiction, a freelance journalist, a fiction author, and a fan herself, states, quote, "I think the ethics are the same. I haven't changed my mind about my own fanfic and have no intentions of shopping it. For us old schoolers, the cardinal rule is the cardinal rule is first make no money." The Twilight fandom has always been referred to as a feral fandom, which I know was resented by the community, but its inability to follow fandom conventions has made it obvious here by the number of authors who've made quite a bit of money doing what those of us who came from other fandoms were taught was the ultimate fandom heresy, profiting off the work. There are several reasons why old school fans, as Aleo calls herself, oppose P2P fiction, as I mentioned. And the first is that fan fiction is in a rather hazy legal area. There's been no definitive case law to determine whether fan fiction falls under legal fair use or pure copyright infringement. For many fans, the legal defense against copyright claims is that they make no profit off of their fanfic. And they worry that if they start making money off fanfic, the rights holders will bring down the legal hammer. Some authors, such as George R.R. Martin, do not allow any fanfic to be published online. Others allow fic in certain situations. Mercedes Lackey used to ban all fic, but now if fans get a creative copyright license that states it's a derivative work, she's okay with it. And some authors will license their work for fanfic. The estate of Kurt Vonnegut and the Vampire Diaries both have licenses with an Amazon property called Kindle Worlds, where the initial rights holder, the fic writer, and Amazon all get a cut of what they make off of these texts. And then some authors, such as Twilight author Stephanie Meyer, have a completely hands-off approach to fic. So it just depends on the author, and there's no surefire way to go. But the fact that Meyer is so hands-off may be why there's so much published work based on her Twilight. Second, fandom works under what Karen Hellickson calls a fanish gift economy. She says, quote, "Fans insist on a gift economy, not a commercial one, because it goes beyond self-protective attempts to fly under the radar. Online media fandom is a gift culture in the symbolic realm, in which fan gift exchange is performed in complex, even exclusionary symbolic ways that create a stable nexus of giving, receiving, and reciprocity." Indeed, in 1999, Rachel Sabatini called the gift economy the centerpiece of fandom. Within traditional fan cultures, both online and off, fans gift each other with the products of their time and effort. This can include fan art, poetry, and fanfic. Fan authors produce fanfic and give it to their communities to read. They are in turn paid back through comments left on the fic, and these comments are not always strictly positive. In fact, many authors enjoy the constructive criticism that they receive from fellow fans and become better writers for it. Other fellow fans may also illustrate particular scenes from a fic or make a music video or a music playlist that captures the mood of a scene. Fanfic popularity is measured not only in how many times a fic is read, but also in how many comments it receives. And the fic itself and the comments strengthen the bonds of the particular fandom and sub-fandom. These communities become quite close, and they can offer emotional support and conversation beyond the media fandom itself, but with that media fandom at its core. Several famous, usually female authors, including Twilight author Meyer, began as fanfic writers, and they hone their craft within fan communities before they go on to publish original stories. Within fan communities, fic authors are one among equals, learning the craft of writing and becoming better authors because of the critique offered by fellow fans. Indeed, this critique constitutes crowdsourced free labor, performing the same function as professional authors, sometimes paid beta readers and always paid editors. When fan fiction is offered freely, this labor is reciprocal. Writers give their fics, while fans give critique, encouragement, and support. What happens to this reciprocity when the fic authors pull the fic to publish it for profit, however? In most cases, P2P fiction is published without acknowledging its roots as fan fiction. Sometimes it's deliberately hidden. And without acknowledging the crowdsourced editing labor performed by other fans. Does this destroy the reciprocity of the fan relationship, or was that reciprocity satisfied with the original free publication of the fic itself? Fans were satisfied in that they got to read the story to its conclusion. They got to see what happens next. within their own community and before mainstream readers. This is an enormous source of pleasure that we can't underestimate. At the same time, their editing help is no doubt rolled into the P2P version of the story, yet they receive no profit participation or even acknowledgement. Also, once an author has published her fic professionally, she's no longer one among equals, but a professional author who stands apart from her community. Does this irreparably break the fan relationship? These are the ethical quandaries that stand at the heart of other fandoms' problems with twihards. Authors who have published P2P works defend themselves in a number of ways. Most P2P Twilight fanfiction began life as AU or alternate universe fic. In these stories, popular characters are taken out of the universe the original author created and put into a very different one, while character traits remain stable. For example, in the fic Master of the Universe, which became 50 Shades of Grey, Edward/Christian Grey is not a vampire but a young billionaire. Bella/Anna is a college senior who interviews Edward/Christian. The setting has been changed to Portland and Seattle, and a bit of BDSM has been thrown in for spice. While both share most of the character traits of Edward and Bella, the paranormal element of Twilight has been completely erased, and the story moved from small town to big city, Pacific Northwest. Many argue that if a fic is sufficiently AU, then it's been changed enough to make pulling it to publish ethical, because the context has been changed enough to make it a separate entity from the original universe. Not all agree with this justification. They think that if you change it sufficiently enough to publish it ethically, why didn't you just start it off as an original story and not build your popularity on the backs of fans? The problem of solving the gift economy within fan communities proves to be knottier. As I said before, many authors began their careers writing fanfic before moving on to be professional authors. By and large, these authors have been celebrated by their fanfic readers, who are proud to be represented by one of their community in a professional publishing setting. Fan communities feel differently, however, when fanfic authors use their fan text to make the jump into professional writing. While some cheer this transition, others feel used and wonder if the former fanfic author was merely pretending to be a fan as a career stepping stone. Perhaps predictably, this angst tends to fall among traditional gendered lines. Fan communities that tend to skew male, such as video game modding, manga fan producers of doujinshi, and some fan art communities have no problems asking to be paid for their work, and the other fans have no problems paying for that work. Some scholars, such as DeKosnik, and Hellickson, believe that gender definitely plays into this, that women are expected to perform unpaid labor in other arenas of life, and this bleeds into their work as fans. They believe that women should be happy that people are enjoying their work and not be paid for it. DeKosnik actually believes that fanfic authors should be paid for their work, and we should be happy to pay them because of all the labor that they're putting into it. And she also believes that fanfic is enjoying such popularity right now that somebody's going to get paid off of it, and it should probably be the fic authors themselves. If they don't insist on being paid, somebody else is going to profit off of their work. Some people believe that this is actually what's happening in Amazon worlds. Regardless of where we stand on the ethics of P2P fiction, we have to recognize the important ways that Twilight fandom has changed the face of what it means to be a fan. Twilight fandom has blown through the hallways of fan culture like a hurricane, and whether you feel that this is a destructive force that must be stopped and repaired, or a much-needed breath of fresh air is entirely up to your point of view, and it's something that I'd like to examine more in the future. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for watching my little movie. And I hope to be able to talk to you more about this later.